Okay, everybody, thank you for coming to our Thursday night meeting. It's really, really good to be here. I'm Daniel, founder of TAM Integration, if you don't know me. I am really happy to have my friend Josh Jupiter here. Josh is the founder of Brooklyn Balance Integration, something that he founded while he was actually in the TAM Integration coaching training program. And he's also um, done a lot of like well-trained gentlemen. He's done some MAPS training, advanced MDMA, psychedelic therapy with Michael and Annie Mithofer. He's been working with the ISTA community. He's works with the Five Rhythms community. He's been a commercial and music video producer prior to his career as an integration coach for many, many years, and just all around great guy. Thank you for being here, Josh. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And it's nice I recognize some of the faces here as well. Um, I want to just presence that I have the flu and I'm like kind of with it right now. I might sound a little nasally or I might cough a little bit. So just wanted to kind of just wanted to presence that, but I feel okay to give this presentation enough here from home. So this sounds like a good place to start. I'm gonna share my screen. And so, yeah, really excited to be talking about consent in the psychedelic space. I really feel like this is a topic that's not talked about enough in the space. And for me, I take it very personally because I experienced my consent being violated with a facilitator many years ago when I was working with ayahuasca in Wachuma. And so that was an experience that really shifted things for me and shaped my path forward. So with that, I started to learn a lot more about consent and going to get into a bit of it today. So first off, a disclaimer, this information presented in this talk is intended for educational and informational purposes only. Does not constitute medical or psychological, legal or therapeutic advice. While the topics discussed may relate to therapeutic practices, psychedelic substances, and consent, none of this should be interpreted as medical guidance or recommendations for medical treatment, diagnosis, or legal action. So just the typical legal disclaimer. So what we'll get into today, what is consent? Requests, boundaries, consent for altered states, shadow sides of things. We'll talk a little bit about the drama triangle and the empowerment dynamic. We'll talk about informed consent and communication as well. We're also going to do a couple of practices and exercises. So if you have a small object available, such as a toy, an instrument, a rock, whatever, like glasses, please have that nearby. If you're able to, if you have a big bowl of water, like ice cold water, have that available as well. You don't have either of those, totally cool. Everything's an invitation. So just a little about me before we begin, right? Like, who is this person that I'm here listening to? I'm a new face to many of y'all. So first off is I'm the founder of Brooklyn Balance LLC and a psychedelic integration coach and facilitator. As Daniel mentioned, I have various certifications, professional trainings, and I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised. In 2003, I had my first life-changing psychedelic experience. A little later on in 2008, when I graduated with a degree in film production, I began to have very debilitating anxiety attacks, and I was on SSRIs SSRIs for a number of years. It took me a while, but I weaned myself off of SSRIs. And when I did in 2016, I began to explore psychedelics with my therapist and community members. In 2020, I got burnt out from film production. I pushed pause and I pursued a new path. It led me to where I am today, graduating from Daniel's program, founding a new company, Brooklyn Balance LLC, and continuing getting trainings and participating here in New York City and various other communities in the medicine space. So moving on, what does it mean to be in consent? So we like to say, if you participate in some of these spaces, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. If it's a maybe, it's a no. No means no, and I said no. Hell yes, hell yes. I had a lot of fun making these. um, but this kind of gives just a real quick intro to just some of the verbiage that people say and people practice for getting affirmations or rejections with what they're doing and what requests they make in maintaining their boundaries. So consent is simply permission for something to happen or an agreement to do something. So, when you were a kid and you had to get a permission slip formed, get on the bus, your parents had to give you permission because you cannot be in consent for yourself. So in the psychedelic space, if someone takes a medicine, can they be able to give consent? Any thoughts? And I'm gonna also I'll keep an eye on the chat too. But like seriously here, what do y'all think? Can a person in an altered state give consent? Matt says no. No. In my opinion, it depends. Most frequently, most commonly, the answer is definitely going to be no. It certainly can be a maybe, and it really depends on what's happening, what is being consented about. The fact of the matter is, being in an altered state of consciousness impairs an individual's ability to think clearly and to be of sound mind and body. Is not to be expected. And yeah, what medicine they're on and all of that really matters, and the amount too. Simply, like, there may be some things that someone can very quickly consent to. Would you like a drink to water? Would you like a drink of water? Yes, I would like water. Great. We know that, like, this person wants that. Other actions and topics should be agreed upon before the ceremony, as they are inappropriate for the client to decide in an altered state. So discussing boundaries, figuring out what touch is allowed, booster doses, additional doses, and then looking into what might be behind things too, as I mentioned here, shadow, and then having understanding, if able, of trauma responses as well. So being trauma informed in those regards. So there's an inherent power dynamic between a client and a facilitator. And facilitator is just the word I'm going to use that can be for practitioner, coach, therapist, any of those terms. The client is in the guidance of the facilitator. The facilitator is influential because the client is trusting what is going on here. And the client can develop dependence or attachment with their facilitator in these experiences, in prep, or even in integration. Some clients might be desperate or very overly hopeful for getting relief, for ending their suffering. So figuring out boundaries as you navigate your relationship with either a client or a facilitator is very vital. So boundaries really show where one thing ends and another begins. It helps each person figure out where one, I'm sorry, I'm repeating that. And it helps them define what they're comfortable with and how they would like to be treated by others. Knowing your boundaries helps deepen and better your relationship with other people in your life, especially if you're in service. And we're going to get into some like practices too and go a bit deeper into these things. Right now, it's just kind of a bit of a layout. Someone in service with no boundaries should be approached with caution. I'll work with you. I'll work with anyone. I'll work for no money, right? Like, I'll work with anyone I consider a red flag. If someone is unaware yet of where things begin and end for themselves, there is a greater chance that they'll cross one of your boundaries. So if I say, I'll work with anyone, this red flag indicates that there's a greater chance that they're looking to do this for perhaps the wrong reasons. And with that said, they might cross some lines to achieve this goal. And so when we're in service, there's a lot of giving. And there's a tool called the Wheel of Consent, which was created by Betty Martin. And it's a really it's a really interesting tool. And I've learned a lot from it, and I'm here to share a bit about this tool with y'all. So it's a framework that helps give people an understanding to navigate the dynamics of giving and receiving in any interaction. It distinguishes between four key quadrants based on who the action is for and who is doing the action. It clarifies the roles, ensuring that all actions are consensual and that you are clear about who is giving and who is receiving. It's a powerful tool for cultivating clear communication, boundaries, and deeper connection in all kinds of relationships. So this might seem pretty simple, right? I'm asking, what is giving? And when, in this sense, it's giving is willing to do something for the other's benefit. So will you accept this token of my appreciation? I'm giving you this present for your benefit. What is receiving? Receiving is for the other. If I'm giving, it's giving, sorry, you want the other to do something for your own benefit. So will you help me put on my shoe? So it's to my benefit that you are helping me put on my shoe. Another quadrant is taking. Want to do something for taking is wanting to do something for your own benefit. So may I help myself to some of your meatballs? And if you get acknowledgments, like in this image, they're happy. Yeah, you could have some of my meatballs. So she is allowing it, willing to let the other do something for their own benefit. Yes, I will allow you to take as many of my meatballs as you'd like. So this person stating, consenting, allowing this person to take from them. So what quadrant are you most comfortable in? And what's behind that? So when it comes to these dynamics, briefly, you could chat it out or type it into the chat. Which one of these four quadrants do you feel you might be most comfortable in? Where might you lean if you had to pick one at this moment? Allow, serve, serve. Cool. Yeah, most people feel the most comfortable being in service and giving. So what's great about the wheel is that the wheel takes the traditional concept of giving and receiving and builds on it. The giver who is doing the action, for example, giving a massage or a birthday present or cake, then we have the receiver, the one who's receiving or accepting it. Moving out of the old paradigm, there may be things you've done that you've done for someone despite that you've done for yourself despite doing or giving for someone else. So maybe you enjoy running your fingers through your pet's hair, right? So you're petting your cat is allowing you to pet them. And you really love petting your cat because that gives you joy. That makes you happy. That gives you pleasure. And so that's a way of looking at this new paradigm is doing something, but for your own benefit would be moving into would be taking. These ways of touching others or doing for others for their own enjoyment, this is another way of receiving. This time the receiver is doing the action and the giver is giving the gift of access. So if we look at this very cute photo right here, the dog is receiving the touch and he's giving the access for that to happen, right? If the dog was not allowing the touch to happen, he wouldn't be able to receive. And there wouldn't be this beautiful enjoyment. So what the wheel does is separate these two different dynamics to take them apart. So we can really get clear on what each one is. It does this by asking two questions. Who is taking the action and who is the action for? When I am doing the action and it's something you ask for, we call this serving. When something is being done to me and it's something I ask for, we call this accepting. When I am doing the action on you within your limits and it's for me, we call this taking. When something is done to or for me within my limits and the action is for you, we call this allowing. So we're going to do some practices and exercises. And so the first one is called waking up the hands. So the invitation of this practice is to slow down and pay more attention to our sense of touch by gradually exploring and feeling with our fingers and hands with a small household object. You can do it sitting, you can doing lying down. So let's take a few moments to do this. So I invite you to find yourself in a comfortable position with your object in your hands. And you can just begin to deepen your breath. And if it feels good to you, you can close your eyes and relax. and just begin to explore this object with your fingers. Just being curious with it. Noticing where it begins and where it ends. Is it soft, hard, or cold? And when you're complete with that, you can open your eyes. And I'm curious, would anyone like to unmute themselves and share how that experience was for them?
Yeah, I'll share. It was fine. I found myself quite in my head and just running my fingers over
Mhm,
the object without a tremendous amount of thought about it.
mhm. Anyone else?
Yeah, I was moving at the pulse of my heartbeat. I found that.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, I find this practice really interesting because it allows exploration. And of course, you can do this for much longer amounts of time. If only we had more time, right? Um, to really connect with something. And it helps give me a better understanding of how I relate to this object and what it might bring up for me, how it might make me feel, how my nervous system might react to it. Anyone else? Cool. Move on. Oh, Jordan.
Hi, I'm trying to join on my computer now, but I'm here. Um yeah, I just wanted to mention I don't know if it like this for anyone else, but the music sounded like it was maybe being played over the microphone and it was kind of cutting in and out. So that kind of disrupted my focus a little bit.
Hmm.
Um just for your own information, Josh. There might be a way to pipe the music directly into the call. But other than that, yeah, like others said, it was pretty relaxing. I have this nice, smooth palm stone, selenite palm stone that I've been carrying around with me a lot recently, and it is very calming, and it's got a nice smooth texture to it. So, yeah, it was nice. Uh, but yeah, the music did pull me out of it a little bit the way it was, and it was kind of overlapping your voice a little bit too at times. So it was hard to. I mean, I could hear everything you said, but yeah, other than that. It was very nice and always nice to drop into the body and get a little bit more slow and aware.
Well,
Thank
hey,
you.
hey, Josh, I'll offer this.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here going, I'm not putting this ball down. So, I'm just going to sit here and play with it unless you have us do something else. But it reminded me how tactile I am. I kind of forget that. And yeah, and because it's a smooth, rather hard ball, it was cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Christine. And yeah, we did a quick sound check before, so I thought the music was okay, but I guess it wasn't. So I apologize for that, and I'll learn how to correct that for next time. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yep.
So moving into just requests, right? A lot of this is just very basic stuff, and perhaps a lot of basic stuff that we haven't thought or looked into that much. When it comes to a request is an act of asking politely or formally for something. So a request is an act of asking for something politely or formally for something. So my question for you is just to think about, is it hard for you to make requests? Is it challenging for you to say, will you or may I? How do you respond when people do not clearly make a request? Have you ever dated, worked with, or known someone who expected you to be a mind reader? Or have you ever dated, worked with, or known someone that you expected to read your mind? Right? So it might seem really simple. A lot of people walk this earth every day just expecting us to be mind readers. And I think very few of us here are mind readers. So when you make a request, and we're going to practice making requests, some things to consider are making sure that you have their attention, that they can hear you, be clear on your intention prior if needed, and expressing yourself clearly and politely. And then when it comes to getting an answer, do you need to be flexible? Do you need to negotiate? Is your request accepted or rejected? Express gratitude either way. I like to say when someone rejects me or says they're not available, I say, thank you for taking care of yourself. And I sincerely mean it, because I wouldn't want someone to do something if it wasn't true for them. So I thank them for taking care of themselves. So when you are doing the action and it's for them, you're in service. And when you put your own desires to one side and do what they want within your limits, you're in this quadrant, doing what they ask for and nothing else. And asking yourself, as you're in service, am I still willing to do this? So if you're trip sitting for someone and you finish and you feel really exhausted and you're like, oh man, I've done this 5 days in a row. Am I still willing to do this? Might get burned out. Accepting. When you are receiving the touch or the action or thing that you have requested, you are accepting. You put your desires first and ask for what you want. Take time to notice what's something I would like, what would feel good, and ask yourself, is this still what I want? So it's like we order something from a restaurant and we change our mind. The waiter steps away. We have the right to say, nope, that isn't what I want. I now want this. Or in any other ways, I'm getting a massage and someone's rubbing my shoulder. I want it now on my neck. So I'm going to break us into breakout groups. Or Daniel, do you do that?
I can make you I'm gonna make you the host. because I
Cool.
don't know how you want it to be done. I can support you.
I want people in couples, in pairs.
Okay, so you're the host, so you will click the more button.
I got it. Okay, I see it.
Well, and you can put me in or not.
Cool. So so person A, so the person with the longest hair is person A. And the person with the shortest hair is person B. Person A is going to ask, we're going to practice making requests. Will you? And the person B will say yes, no, or negotiate. And we're just going to practice that. Person B is not actually going to do the request. It's just practicing having those words come out of your mouth. So for example, since we're on Zoom, will you tell me a secret? Will you pat your head while rubbing your belly? Will you give me Reiki? Will you teach me a meditation? And so we'll do this for a moment and then we'll switch and it will be short. So if you get paired with someone that is not like physically able to participate, we'll have you come out and we can do it here. Any questions before we go in? Cool.
Hey Josh, I think I accidentally left my breakout room. If you can put me back in. I didn't mean to. I think I clicked the wrong button.
Sure.
I forget who I
I'm
was
gonna
in
put
with.
you, I'm gonna put you in 5, and I see that it actually put people in triplets and not pairs.
Yeah,
So
that's what you came out to, jumped out to say.
Matt Costerman.
I was in 3 with 2 other people.
Gotcha. Well,
There's a lot of thirds coming back, it seems.
yeah. So we can do some quick stuff here in this main room while everyone else is. Would anyone like to volunteer to go first here?
I have a request.
Yeah,
Do I get to pick who I ask it of?
go for it.
Of course, I'll ask Jennifer.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. You?
Good, yeah, I'm well too. Um,
Perfect.
will you do a dance for us?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes, I will. Do you have anything in particular you want to see?
No, I don't. It's whatever spirit moves you to do.
I suddenly thought of square dancing because it's the easiest one, which is very interesting. But how about I do do I'll let you tell me what it is. Can you even see me? Oh my goodness.
See, she's
Well,
gonna do it.
well, I don't think you
I'll
actually,
totally do
I don't
it.
think you actually have to do it. I think you just say yes or no.
Oh,
Yeah, you say yes, no, yes or no.
You guys are
well, you
taking the fun
just,
out of it.
I know, I was about
She
to
was
get
gonna
up
do
and
it.
do some stuff. Yes, I will, Christine.
All right, another time we will figure it out.
It'll be personal.
Yes, thank you.
Jennifer, would you like to reciprocate?
Oh, yeah, I'll just keep it moving, yes? Matt,
Yes,
will you tell me a secret? I love
Oh.
that question.
of course I will.
Cool. I love this.
Will you
I'm
take your screen off while we're doing this?
I'm I'm about to end this now, actually.
Mm.
There's like 80 more slides I have to get to.
Is that 4 minutes up? So everyone's coming back?
Yeah.
I just wanted to see the people.
I was in a room
Well,
by
we-
myself after getting re-added. So Jennifer, sorry I left
I don't know
our
what
initial group.
happened.
Did you get kicked out too? I thought I maybe clicked something wrong, but I might have accidentally clicked out of it.
So Jordan, I saw you, I was like, hey, and then you disappeared, like you evaporated, and I sat there for 20 seconds or so, and then I came back to the main room.
Yeah, I think I accidentally clicked out, so that was my fault.
Cool. Well,
Oh, good.
how, like, overall, did anyone have a unique experience or learn something about themselves from that? I apologize. I think it put people in triplets and some people got canceled out. I'm a little new to breakout rooms.
Well, hey, I'll ask Jennifer. Jennifer, you were just so sweet and ready to go.
Dance,
I
dance is fun. Dance is easy.
I love that. So there you go. Something that really resonates that you wanted to do. Similarly with Matt, when Matt said, yeah, I'll tell a secret, because I would have hemmed and hawed.
Had I asked you to dance?
Secret. No, no. Had you asked me to dance, I would have gotten up and started dancing. No, when Matt was asked, would you tell me a secret?
Mm.
When you said, and I would have said, what?
I'm just a giver, Christine, you know.
Yeah, I would have said, why do you want to know? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But that's the difference of like personality and your boundaries, and yeah, the wheel of consent, this asking, these exercises are fantastic. Anyway, thank you.
Cool. It was so great to see your like enthusiastic yes to dancing also. So it shows like, you know, a true authentic self in that sense. So I'm gonna move on for the sake of time. I have a lot of content in here. In fact, I actually like took out like 40 slides an hour ago from this. So there's just so much I'm like very like passionate and excited to share with everyone. So when you are giving, so allowing, when you are giving access to yourself or your belongings, you're allowing. You allow them, you allow someone or another to do what they want while staying responsible to your own limits. So ask yourself, am I still willing for this to be happening? You can pause, stop, renegotiate anytime. So like in this photo, this model is allowing this woman to take her photo. And she's allowing it from up top. Taking, when you are touching or when you're touching or acting for them, it's for you. We call this taking. So you put your desires first and ask for what you want. This is often the hardest quadrant to get. Take time to notice how you like to be touched or what you like when it comes to what you like to take for something for yourself, and asking yourself what would feel good for me and how do I want to take for that to feel good for me, and then staying strictly within the limits that you have agreed upon to. So like in this image, Dracula and this woman have agreed that he can take 1 pint of blood from her. So he's taking, she's allowing. So in this exercise, person A is the person with the shortest hair. And I'm not sure why it wasn't allowing us to go to be in pairs, but I'm gonna try to check that out. But person A with
What?
the short hair.
Give it back to me. I'll do it. I know how. Give me back the host. I'll do a tutorial. May I offer you a tutorial in this at another time in breakout
Yeah.
room? Cool.
Will you help me make you the host again?
Okay, yes. Click the three. Oh, you got to see me. Find me.
Yeah,
Click the 3 dots in the upper corner, and then it'll say make host.
got it.
All right,
Cool.
cool. All right. Everybody, may I put you in breakout rooms?
Well, let me explain what they're doing first.
Aha.
So person A asks, may I? May I see your belly button? May I watch you touch your hair? May I give you Reiki? May I lead a meditation? Person B responds yes, no, or negotiates. And you can do it, or you can, if you want to do the dance or whatever it is, lead a meditation, go for it. But take a moment, take a minute each, and then switch. And now, any questions?
So this
Cool.
is going to be asking if we can do an action to someone, right? That's so it wouldn't be like it's a little bit I'm just trying to
So
wrap my head around the difference between.
the difference is it's for your benefit. And it's for your benefit. It's something that you want and they are allowing. So, may I see your belly button? No, I'm not going to allow that. Right?
So in the may I give you Reiki option, even like what Daniel just said, the may I give you a Zoom tutorial. What
Mhm.
if that's something that you, and maybe it's for you because you enjoy helping people, but what if it's more so like, hey, I think that this would really help the other person, and I'm now asking if I can help this person or do this thing for this person that I think may help them. Where does that fall? Because that's where I'm getting a little confused.
Now you're
Yeah.
serving, right?
Well, that's to the what I'm hearing from that is the benefit of the collective. And so, yes, then you're serving. So I'm going to give and step in to do this for the benefit of the collective. And it benefits me as well. And they're allowing it to happen. So that particular situation has a bit of a triangulation in it, but ultimately that is serving.
Okay.
And so in this case, it's I want to do something for my benefit. This makes me happy. Will you allow access to this, right? So may I see this? May I do that? So, and this is honestly, these practices they're tough and they're challenging. I would suggest just what would you like to start your like starting your sentence with may I, and then completing the sentence. Going from there, trying that, and that's the challenge. How does that land?
Can I ask the question this way? When I asked Jennifer if she would do a dance, will she do a dance? I didn't say, if I had said, may I watch you do a dance, which sounds kind of weird, but like, will you do a dance for me? Is that the difference?
So when you're saying, may I watch you dance? it's implying it's for your benefit.
No, no, that's what it means. That's the distinction. The first exercise was, Jennifer, will you do a dance? Doesn't, and then this one is, may I watch you do a dance? Because it's for
Yes.
me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
I
so
have a
let's,
quick, can I ask a quick question?
yeah.
So in
Yes.
the first exercise, who was that for? Like I was asked, you know, will you change the headlight in my car? So those asks were also, I was asking for things that I wanted.
Mhm. So I want to I want to I want to show you an image of the wheel of consent to help deepen into explaining that particular one, because with serving and receiving, it's one way.
Mm-hmm.
With taking and allowing,
Okay.
it's two ways.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, does that help clarify that?
It does.
Okay. And there's going to be some more illustrations and details in some in a future slides after this exercise as well. Cool. So let's break out into pairs. Please, Daniel, will you please put people into groups of 2?
Totes. All right. Is that working? All right. I did it.
Cool. And there is a friend of mine from the dance community, and she typed in the chat saying that she can't participate.
So if
And
that is the case, then Jeremy will probably be back in a moment. Jeremy either will or won't be back in a moment. Jennifer M. Brown is back. So I'm gonna put her in room 3. Move to room 3. Off you pop. Jennifer Brown. That worked out. Because Lee Zuna's coaching did not join either. See, that's like that. This is a complex.
yeah,
Like it takes a minute to learn the language. Like
well,
it's jargony.
it's very jargony. And I did my first ISTA almost 3 years ago, and this is where I learned all of this.
Right.
And we practice this a lot in the ISTA community.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Will you broadcast the people to switch if they have not switched, please?
Switch if you have not switched. This is your conscience.
Does my cough sound bad on?
Yeah.
Okay. Monday was like death. Oh my God. Dude, I couldn't sit for my client.
Right. So this is being recorded still.
Oh, okay. We'll bring people out soon.
Oh, I've got to go in and edit some of the, it's gonna take me a minute to edit this. Or maybe I can ask. I think I might know somebody I can ask to do that.
What do you need to edit?
I want to delete this part. I want to cut this part out of your presentation.
I'm pretty sure Zoom automatically cuts it out. No?
No,
Oh,
no, I would have had to click pause recording, which I forgot to do.
let's take everyone out.
All right. All right. You know, they're coming back. Good.
Any reflections? Did anyone learn anything? How was your experience?
Yeah, I felt like a little like rush of like flush and heat when I made a request that was denied.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
Just in general, I realized that and something I struggle with, which is kind of why I asked the question before, is I'm going to be practicing the question in general in my life a lot. May I offer some advice, or may I give you my opinion on the situation? Because I do that unwarranted a lot of the time, and people definitely don't take it well a lot of the time. So I think that would really help me in my interactions.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you.
You know, this is also reminding me, I do this, and I'm sure all of us on these Zoom calls have heard this. When somebody says, the speaker, if I may, I would like to, except they never stop and see if they get permission. They just keep going. And it's like something I think to really like start to be aware of.
Listening. Yeah, listening, pausing for a response. Great. Let's move on. So if you have your big bowl of water, and you don't have to, you can do this imaginary or just envision it, right? Just envision that you're a client or you're working with somebody, and your facilitator asks you to plunge your face into that bowl of water and hold it for 5 seconds. Are you a yes? Are you a no? And if you're a yes, how do you feel a moment before doing it? Right? So I have this little image here. This guy pointing to the water. Jump into the water if you want enlightenment. And he's telling all these little students. And so if someone were to ask you, will you dip your face in a bowl of cold water? 5 seconds. What will you do? And how does that feel? Any thoughts?
I guess I'd need context. Like for enlightenment, sure, I'll do it.
Right?
But you know, I would anticipate that there's some discussion beforehand about why I'm dipping up my face in a bowl of water. some justification, rationale, etc.
It's easier than dipping your whole body in an ice bath, which is a pretty popular thing to do nowadays to get, I guess, enlightened or whatever, or healthy.
Well, there's a couple of things behind this. One is the power dynamic between facilitator and client. And so if someone's like, yeah, sure, I'm going to do it, not asking for context, just doing it because they're doing it. And then there's also, okay, yes, like I know the context of what this is about. Them dipping my face in a bowl of water and cold water is going to give me enlightenment. And there's that acceleration before doing it. There's the feelings, how we feel before we do something big. So maybe someone's on the line of a roller coaster. And it's their first time going on a roller coaster. And they're just so nervous. And then they go on the roller coaster and they have that experience and they have all that adrenaline and they feel amazing. Or maybe they had a terrible time. So to just touch more upon it, it's about the choice that we make for ourselves based off of the information that we have on something, based off of what's being asked and how we feel about it, right? So it's just deepening more into how do we process what people ask of us in this context. And as I see a number of you, I believe, are in Daniel's coaching training program, it's deepening more into understanding how a client might feel in this sense and just relating with them. So if I am learning to serve hape and I tell you I need to practice and ask, may I practice with you? You don't really want nor need hape, though you agree to support me for my education, so you accept. What quadrant am I in? What quadrant are you in? Any guesses?
Taking and they're allowing.
Does anyone disagree? Taking and allowing, great. If I am giving you spores and substrate so you can grow mushrooms for me, what quadrant am I in? What quadrant are you in?
Take and allow again, isn't it?
Receiving and giving.
Are those
So-
What was that?
are those quadrants?
Yes, the
Oh.
4 quadrants. Giving, receiving, taking, allowing.
Oh, okay.
So in this sense, I'm giving you the materials so you can grow them for me.
Okay, so serve and accept are the same as give and take.
Yes.
Okay, got you. Thank
Wait,
you.
sorry.
Same as give and receive.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So in this case, the person
Giving.
growing the mushrooms is the one that is giving, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They're in service, they're giving to me. If you ask me to give you coaching about, sorry. If you ask me to give you coaching about your ketamine experience, the wording's wrong on this, I apologize. And during the session, you have a huge breakthrough. What quadrant am I in? What quadrant are you in?
Take and allow.
It's giving and receiving. So, and this is typed incorrectly, and so, but if I am giving you coaching, I am coaching you, and you have a breakthrough.
But you're asking. That's why I guess I'm getting a little confused. So you're
Right. So
where the
that,
action lies and versus
Mhm.
where the asking lies is a thing that I'm a little bit confused about, I think.
And it's tricky. It can get it can get a little tricky, get a little jargony. We don't need to overcomplicate it too much, but I'll clarify. So you ask me to give you coaching about your ketamine experience, and during the session you have a breakthrough. I have agreed to be in service to you, and you are receiving, is what's happening there.
Hmm.
So if we go back to like the meatball example, and I say, may I have some of your meatballs? And then they give you the meatballs versus me taking the meatballs. Is that different quadrants, even though the same exchange is essentially happening, but they're giving you the meatballs versus you taking the meatballs?
So with the meatballs, it's may I may I take your meatballs, and the person's allowing them versus receiving the meatballs or being gifted the meatballs.
So if I say, can I have some of your meatballs? And they say, sure, and then give me some, is that still taking and allowing?
In that context, they're gifting you. So in that sense, they're giving and you're accepting.
Okay.
It's very contextual.
Yeah, some subtle differences for sure.
Yeah.
So in the ketamine example that was just on the screen, the asking is not the main point, right? In the wording, and also the coach would potentially be paid for this service, and that's also not really relevant, right? The main interaction here is coaching and receiving coaching, or
Yeah,
receiving a
it could be
breakthrough, maybe.
exactly. I go to a friend, I ask a friend to coach me. I go to a friend, I ask a friend to hold space for me. This one, the answer's on here. I added these in a little while ago. If you're on MDMA and you ask me if you can run your hands through my hair and I agree, but for 5 minutes, what quadrant am I in? What quadrant are you in? Allowing and taking. All right. Moving into shadow side of things. Checking on time. So, all right. So this is an illustration of the wheel, right? And so in consent, outside consent. So here we're in service or giving. Yes, I will, benefits others. So what happens when we overdo it or we're outside consent? So has anyone ever given and given and given and not received anything in return? How did you feel?
Two
Like a
things.
parent?
Oops.
Like a parent? Yeah.
Two things,
Exhausted.
taken advantage of, and also I was unclear about my own boundary.
Right. Yeah. So resent, if In the shadow on this side, you have rescuer, martyr, slavery, caretaker, overburdening, like lawnmower parenting, right? Maybe you're a parent, but you're a lawnmower parent or a helicopter parent. Accepting and receiving, what might someone who just accepts and receives but never gives anything in return? Freeloader, privilege, entitled, slave owner, moocher. Taking. If someone is just always taking and taking and taking, I'm going to take your land. I'm going to take all your meatballs. Perpetrator, thief, groping, assault, rape, war. Allowing. They're being taken from and they're not doing anything. Or this person is just open access. Doormat, pushover, victim, passive, tolerant. So some of the things I've experienced and seen and witnessed in the psychedelic space when it comes to some characters, archetypes of these shadows that navigate outside of the wheel. The guru, the cult leader. I know better than you. Listen, follow me. I know the way. You need me. Caretaker. I'm doing this all for you. I slave away from my clients. Everything I do is for you. Do-gooder. Look how many people I've helped. I donate every dollar I make to indigenous tribes. No one should charge money for these things. I'll stay with you the whole time and make sure you're okay. Egotistic, self-absorbed. I only work with high rollers. I know exactly what you need. You wouldn't have had a breakthrough if it was without me. I don't make mistakes. Trust my process. I have to prove to them I'm the best. So there's a couple of archetypes and shadow things I'm going to stick with. One of them is the charlatan. So on the facilitator side, they're passing through town. They talk a big game, but cannot back it up. They're vague. They use big buzzwords for manipulation and hoodwinking, confusing made-up language to put them on a pedestal, and so others don't understand and therefore rely on their knowledge. They're very charismatic. They always try to sell you something. They convince you of their worldview, and they always have a solution for you. Only I have the knowledge to guide you through this experience. I've been chosen by higher powers to heal people like you. This session is usually very expensive, but I'll give you a special rate because you need it. You'll need more sessions with me to fully heal. One is not enough. So moving into the client side, I'm going to spend a bit of time with this one. It's the victim. So the victim, one might hear, they did this to me, and now I. This happened to me, and now I. I had a challenging experience, and it's all your fault. Nothing happened. I've been scammed. So there's a lot of reactivity. Some people enter the psychedelic space seeking healing from past trauma, which is entirely valid. However, in some cases, their trauma may create a sense of victimhood that colors their entire experience. If the healing process doesn't unfold as they expect, they may stay stuck in the identity of the victim, blaming others or external factors for their inability to move forward. There's entitlement. They want special treatment because of their situation. If they're not getting enough attention or care, they react and lash out. For example, someone's at a group ceremony and they expect the facilitator to spend extra time helping them with their journey, but to the detriment of the collective and the other participants. If they don't receive that expectation, then they claim that they've been neglected or victimized by the process, ignoring the communal nature of these experiences. So it's one person who's just taking a lot and like being like me, me, me. Don't worry about other people. Accusing others of appropriation while playing victim. Someone might attend a ceremony and accuse a well-meaning facilitator of cultural insensitivity, even when that facilitator has been trained or authorized by indigenous groups. The individual may feel victimized by the entire process, positioning themselves as defenders of the culture, even if they lack a deep understanding of the context. They position themselves as misunderstood or persecuted for their beliefs, even when not accurate. They believe their lifestyle choices are being judged, but no one is saying anything nor attacking. They have an us versus them mentality. And they don't acknowledge that their choices simply might just be different from others. And they use the victim role to elevate themselves as part of a countercultural group. Just show of hands, like, have any of y'all witnessed or seen certain types of people in the psychedelic community, other communities like that, like this, right?
Only when looking in the mirror.
Same here, Daniel.
Ditto.
So the freeloader moocher always needs or demands a discount or free services. I need a discount. Daniel, give me free coaching at all the free events, but never donates nor goes to paid events, right? So they go to all the free events, they don't donate, and if you got a paid event, you ain't gonna see them. They don't contribute. They want others to share with them, but they don't reciprocate, and they get offended when others ask them. They don't help clean up at the end of a group ceremony. They bust out early. Repeatedly apply for free psychedelic research studies. They expect others to give to them. They don't integrate. And they exploit and take advantage of volunteers. The doormat pushover lacks boundaries, afraid of disturbing others, doesn't question others, desperate to be accepted, desperate to fit in, just need everyone to like me, does whatever they're told in a rush to work together, doesn't check for their own safety. They jump right in head first, avoiding asking for help. They might overhelp others. Non-confrontational and avoiding conflict. Always offer their personal supplies to others without ever setting limits. Allow their personal space to be invaded or disrupted without saying anything, even if negatively affecting their own experience. They feel compelled to assist others during difficult moments, even when it compromises their own ability to engage with their experience. Allowing a facilitator to exert control over them, such as choosing the dose for them, even when it doesn't feel right. Continuing to attend ceremonies, even though they know their work is done, but they don't want to disappoint. So we're going to do a little practice. So Daniel, in a moment, I'll need your help again with breakout groups. So person with the longest hair. Person with the longest hair is person A. Person with the shortest hair is person B. Person A, assume the role of a facilitator in a shadow character of your choice. Person B, assume the role of the client in a shadow character of your choice. Have a discovery call together. 2 minutes. When 2 minutes is up, guess what shadow each other was, and then switch and have another discovery call. And the intention for this is for you to feel into what these roles feel like. How does it feel to be a doormat? How does it feel to be a charlatan? How does it feel to be a guru? And if you recognize how that feels, you'll be able to better recognize it when you're out and about. Or maybe maybe you're like, oh, this is how I naturally am. That's my work I got to do. Any questions?
May we see the shadow characters again? Thank you.
Okay. So, anyone else? Daniel, will you please break the group out into pairs?
Is it a pop?
How was that? Reflections?
I feel like I've had these conversations in real life, and yet when you try to act it out, it's uncomfortable. I guess because maybe you just pitched it to us as undesirable shadow actions and outside of consent.
Jeremy and I also spoke of that, Carrie. We're like, we've been here before.
There's, I'm happy to hear y'all say that because we're made of so many parts, and these are natural parts that are inside of us, that are a part of us, and sometimes they're bigger and sometimes they're smaller. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
I was able to identify with, I tried to play roles that I over exaggerated the roles I chose, but I chose roles based on some areas where I do see where I can sometimes be that in like offering people advice or thinking that I know what's best for somebody. Or maybe not wanting to bring up a boundary or a limit for myself out of fear of how it would affect the other person to set my own boundary. So I chose those roles and tried to again exaggerate them beyond what I would even normally do. Um, but it's also interesting, I've just been thinking about like a lot of these things, it's kind of the underlying intention is what really sets where you're at too. And I guess that can be subconscious as well. But for instance, like it's going to take more sessions for you to get to the bottom of your problem. That could be coming from I want to get more money out of this person intention, or a genuine, like, this is what I genuinely believe and think. So it's the underlying intention is sometimes more important than the words themselves, I realized. So
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, just in terms of the mechanics of the experiment within the time structure, I kind of had decision panic about which shadow I was going to stay in, or which one I was going to grab onto and really go with in my role. It might have been helpful for me to be assigned one.
Gotcha. Anyone else? Okay, move on. So this is called the drama triangle. We're not going to spend too much time with this because this itself could take up a whole day. But for context, there's the villain, there's the perpetrator, and they're doing something to the victim. The victim is going to the hero, the rescuer. Help me, rescue me. The hero, what? Who's doing this to you? I'll stop them, is going to the villain, the perpetrator. And it becomes this thing. And it's ultimately, it's never ending. The only way to end it is, well, not the only way, but one of the ways to end it is taking yourself out of it. If you find for yourself in one of these situations where you're the hero or you're the perpetrator or you're the victim, taking yourself out. So the victim feeling powerless and blaming others for their situation, seeing themselves at the mercy of the circumstances. This always happens to me. It's all their fault. The persecutor, blaming, criticizing, controlling others, often in an attempt to maintain power or avoid feeling vulnerable. I'm going to get them tomorrow. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to slash their tires. The rescuer, over helping, saving others, often to feel needed or avoid their own issues. They did that to you. I'm going to go. I'm going to show them who's boss. They're going to regret what they ever did to you, ignoring everything on my own side. So it gets us stuck in this cycle. There is this modality that was originated by David Emerald called the empowerment dynamic. And what happens here is the villain or persecutor becomes the challenger. And this is incorrect. This is meant to be hero, becomes the coach. The victim becomes the creator. And so the coach coaches the creator on how to deal with the challenger. And so the creator can then be in their power and choose sovereignty and respond and focus on what outcomes can actually happen and the path that they can choose for themselves. So the victim goes from being powerless to powerful. They take responsibility for their life and choices. They focus on what they can create and do, rather than focus on what they can't create and do. They learn how to respond to challenges constructively. The persecutor, challenger, becomes the challenger, offers constructive feedback, challenges that push the creator to grow. Challenges push the creator to grow. They don't blame or dominate, and they hold space for growth and accountability. The rescuer becomes the coach, supports the creator's empowerment, asks insightful questions, offers guidance without stepping in to fix or take over, fosters autonomy rather than dependency. So it helps us move away from patterns of blame, helplessness, and control. Creates a dynamic that fosters growth, responsibility, and mutual support. This transformation is essential for personal development, healthy relationships, and thriving communities. It allows individuals to step into full power of their own experience and consciously create healing and transformation in ourselves and others. Does anyone here know who Chuck Close is or was? Great. Sue, can you share briefly about Chuck?
Oh, I just know Chuck as an artist who's did portraits, but when you got up close, they're just it's pointillism, just all these little points, but from further away, the points are like the portraits that you see there.
Yeah. And Chuck had a physical handicap. He couldn't walk. And he empowered himself to paint and create huge, magnificent paintings rather than just say, I can't paint because I can't do this. And there are certain situations where that can be very easy to happen with people. Something like, veterans come home from war and they're missing limbs, and it's, how do I start a new life? And so finding that path to be a creator. So I learned about Chuck in early high school in like 9th grade, and I found him very inspirational. So I have like a couple of books on him. And sometimes when I'm like, oh man, like things aren't so great, I'm like, well, what would Chuck Close do? So understanding these models, it helps encourage personal responsibility, conscious communication, individuals being able to clearly express their needs, set boundaries, respecting others' autonomy, and having healthier consensual interactions. So, so in the psychedelic space, there's a lot of risk with anything and everything that we do. And so, when outside of consent, bad things can happen. So there's power abuse, sexual assault, rape, harm to self, harm to others, death, legal disputes, arrests, defamation, libel, and slander. And so what can we do about that as facilitators? And what can clients know that how to approach a facilitator with these risks that are happening? What do they need to do beforehand? So in life, there's risk to everything. And in my opinion, there's no such thing as a safe space, just safer spaces, right? By minimizing risk. So some of the things we can do to help minimize risk is having an informed consent agreement and reviewing it in detail together. Doing shadow work, understanding our shadows, understanding what's behind the things we do, where do we need growth on as facilitators in this space, and having accountability and friends who will call us out on it when they see it. So consistently going to someone, touching base, and figuring out what's happening as the relationships in the psychedelic space progress and expand. Learning and practicing healthy communication skills, exploring, learning what your own boundaries are, and understanding what your edges are. Hey, I'm okay serving this person 2 grams of mushrooms. It'd be an edge for me to serve them 2.5, right? So understanding what you're comfortable with. And so again, discussing and having lots of conversation before, prep is essential in figuring out what these boundaries are and honoring them when they go into an altered state. And this includes physical and energetic boundaries as well. So When it comes to physical touch in an altered state, a good demo I like to do and show my clients and show y'all is the arm example, right? So if I'm working with someone and they tell me during prep that I can only touch them from their fingertips to their wrist, I'm going to honor that when they go in an altered state. When they're in an altered state, if they say, I now want you to touch my elbow, I'm going to say no. I'm going to honor that, hey, we agreed, we're only going to stay here. And when they come out, because if they come out and they're like, what, you touched my elbow? No one can touch my elbow. They were in an altered state. So we want to be aware of these things. So getting attuned with communication tools for your journey, or if it feels good for you, I invite you. Everything is an invitation. Would you like to? How was that? How does that land? How do you feel? Checking in and letting them know repeatedly, consistently that they're at choice. And that way they feel their autonomy. And it's like raising a kid sometime, right? A kid can tie his own shoes. Hey, I don't need you to tie my shoes. I can do this myself. So I won't spend too much time here, but sometimes there could be heavy conversations that you might want to bring up, they might want to bring up. And if we're a facilitator, we might want to check in and say, hey, is it okay if we switch topics and discuss this? Because we've been talking about that a lot. And I understand your intention is really this. Maybe if a facilitator feels a client's being avoidant, just very lightly pulling them back in. Hey, the other day you mentioned, can we go back to that? Today I'd like to discuss for the first part this. How's that sound to you? Hey, I want to talk about logistics for next week. How's that sound? Yes or no? Maybe they don't want to talk about logistics. Maybe it's a whole other thing that's really important. And in certain situations, it's important to check in. Is this still okay? Shall we proceed? How are you doing? And this is particular to when touch is involved. So an example might be a facilitator is giving craniosacral massage to a client when all of a sudden the client's face begins to look uncomfortable. The facilitator notices the uncomfortableness in the face, right? The facilitator is being present to the client and asks, is this still okay? Pause, listen. I think I'd like to be in my own energy at the moment. Great. Hands off. And sometimes when we're not present to things, it doesn't give us space to notice what's happening there. And sometimes people don't feel comfortable actually speaking up for themselves and saying, hey, I want you to stop giving me craniosacral massage. So checking in every so often. In short, right here, just being aware that disassociation and regression can occur. So being trauma informed, aware of things. Someone might disassociate. What do you need to know? Are they pausing with what they're saying? Are they being very too silent for too long? And understanding that altered states can shift. Altered states shift people's consciousness. So one thing in particular is regression and inner child regression. Someone might become a different age. And while it might seem funny at the time, oh, they're acting like a little kid, they may actually need to be treated like a 4-year-old because they're actually believing they're a 4-year-old in that moment. And so being with them and accepting that this is a 4-year-old with me until they get through that moment. So when to cross the line? When is it okay to break consent? Medical emergency, self-harm, harm to others, running out of the house naked into the streets, calling the boss to quit their job, calling a spouse to break up with them or request a divorce, going on Facebook to announce their Jesus, right? So doing preparation can help avoid such things. I have a story, but I'm gonna skip it for now. But yeah, I have this nice image of a kid in the car seat because that is sometimes how people need to be treated and protected because they can't protect themselves. Right, informed consent. So we're a little low on time, so I'm going to just breeze through informed consent because we talked a bit about it. And so informed consent, in short, document. It details how you work. It details your boundaries. It details their rights. It details what they're entitled to, what the process will look like, what they need to know, and letting them know about the risks and understanding all of the nitty gritty in what the relationship might look like. I had a client send me an Instagram friend request to my personal account. And in my informed consent document, it was like, you can follow my public account for my company, but not my personal account. And so, having to have that conversation and let them know, I know you want to be friends with me, bro, but we're working together. So mistakes and accidents can happen. And in psychedelic states and altered states, emotions can be heightened. What may seem like little things for one person can be a big thing to another. If the line gets crossed, it's important to be accountable. Talk it out, acknowledge the mistake, stay with the facts, and understand the emotion. Listen and validate. Apologize sincerely. I like to ask people, what do you need? Learn, hey, why did this happen? And what do I need to do to do better in the future? And give them space if needed and have a mediator if needed as well. So there are really, really huge benefits of being in consent. And a really big one is freedom and exploration. When there's trust, there's like this feeling of safety. We can go deep. We can trust, surrender, receive, right? I trust that this person has my back. I trust that this person is doing their best. I trust that they trust me so they can go and do what they need to do to be open and vulnerable. Something I like to let people know is if you want something, just ask for it. Don't be subtle. Make a full and direct request. It's like, I'm the client and it's like, I'm going in for my journey and I know what it is I want. Hey, coach, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is how it's going to be. Because I can't read his mind. And if he's like, well, maybe I want this, maybe I want that. I don't know. What do you think? Nah, like, then we got to talk and figure things out. So, and then the more we stay in our own quadrants, the better and stronger we get at doing things. So if I'm showing up for my client and I'm in service for them, they can accept, they can receive, they can go deep, they can do some big work, and I can become a stronger, more confident, more secure facilitator. When we're in consent, we feel clear, we feel empowered, we feel the trust, we feel the safety. This is the same thing, just a bit more. And then finally, it's final notes is that there's clarity is vital. Consent isn't just a formality, it's a practice of presence and respect. Every interaction is an agreement. Consent must be checked, rechecked, and revisited. Hold yourself accountable, be true to your word, encourage autonomy. That's it. So I offer free discovery, 20-minute discovery calls. You can email me, josh@brooklynbalance.org. I love it when people email me. It gives me a big dopamine hit. And yeah, I'll be adding there's some really great videos on my website too that anyone can check out, learn a lot about what the things I have to talk about I'd like to talk about psilocybin assisted therapy, MDMA assisted therapy, and psychedelic integration and all that good stuff. Yeah. But I'm based in New York City, and it was really great meeting you all and presenting to you all. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Daniel, for having me, and thank you all for showing up and being here and participating. Y'all are awesome.
Yes, Josh, will you turn off your screen? Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for coming. This was absolutely fantastic. Really, really, truly amazing. I'll be digesting this information for some time now. I'm sure many of us will be. And yeah, hopefully this is a conversation that is truly important, and hopefully can continue, maybe together and maybe in our own lives. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, follow Josh on all the things except for his personal account. And come to integration circles, join the Golden Road community. Maybe I'll see you guys in New York, and have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
I